Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome Mr. Sushil Suri, Chairman and Managing Director, Morphin Laboratories Limited, Mr. Ajay Sharma, CFO of the company, and Mr. Vipul Kumar Srivastav, Company Secretary of the company. Sushil sir, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shah. Good afternoon, everybody. We hope that everybody is comfortable and safe at their home. We know that COVID-19 is disturbing everybody. These are challenging times. So we request everybody to play safe, particularly down south and Maharashtra have been badly affected. So we are concerned about all of you. So coming to the real picture that the COVID has disturbed the business and economy all over the world, and India is not spared. And today headline was very disturbing that we have 24% shrinkage in the economy. But the good factor today is your company, particularly the pharma sector, had been thankfully saved. So it is not much affected by COVID. There are certain segments which are affected. But just to update you, as last quarter, so this quarter we had less challenges as compared to the March beginning. So, but April was a bit tight. The production facilities are not fully functional. May and June were more comfortable. So now the factories are 70 to 80%, I would say to an extent even up to 90% functional. Everything is going good. Corporate office is also opened, and now we are having this call from the office now. Last time we were still working from home. So good news is that we are back in business and everything is normal, and we still have restrictions of social distancing, and we still have erratic cases here and there, but it's fine. It's part of life. It's a new normal. Coming to the business, as you might have seen the results which have been published in the papers and have been given in the stock exchanges. So you might have noticed that the turnover of the company, which is primarily coming from the API business, has grown up by 27% from almost 259 crores. It has 259 crores this quarter as compared to 203 crores. So there's an upside of 27%, and you would appreciate that this 27% growth is coming in the middle of the lockdown, in the middle of closed factories, closed godowns. There are many places transportation problems, custom problems, problem of import of raw materials. If business had been good and normal, this could have been better. But certainly we have to add up that there is some overflow from March quarter also. March quarter, in the end, we had lost some sales for 1 week. So that might have been added here. But on the whole, 27% growth is coming up. And without any complaints or any disregards to whatever is happening around the industry. So we have been very comfortable. The business of the company has been very profitable also. The profit of the company has jumped by almost 155%. Against 7.68 crores, we have got a profit of 19.56 crores in this quarter, which is highest ever in any quarter so far. And last year, the full year profit was 33 crores. So now it is 19 crores. So EBITDA has also moved by 42% from 19.61 crores to 27 crores. Of course, there have been a rise in the profit, a rise in the gross profit margin. There have been an upside in the price realization, better price realization because of shortage of material. At some markets, we have got better prices. Thanks to good EBITDA, our cash profits have also shot up by 44%, from 19 crores to 27 crores. So as you would see from revenues to EBITDA to cash profit, everything has been going very smoothly. And since EBITDA company is a debt-free company, there is not much debt. So EBITDA directly flows down to the net profit. Our depreciation component is not very high. So effort of the company is that more and more EBITDA is coming into the company, more and more gross profits are earned. So that the return on the capital employed and return on the total equity goes back to business. So going to the segment-wise growth, API has been the biggest segment which has been contributing to the growth. And within API, 70 to 80% of the business is exports, around 20 to 30% is domestic. So this quarter, export has gone up by 47% and domestic market has gone up by 36%. Both markets have grown up. And the growth of the company in certain products is 200%, 100%, like rosuvastatin has grown by 260%, loratadine has grown by 90%. On the diagnostic side, we had some limitations on the sale of glucometers, but BP monitor sales have jumped by 57%, and overall diagnostic sales have grown up by 16%. So all around there's a good growth. As we shared in the last quarterly call, in our Dr. Morphin business, in OTC business, we had a lot of products, we had launched a lot of new products for the COVID, including sanitizers, masks, gloves, Chyawanprash, and so many other items. So they have all contributed 53% of the top line. Even though our original products like Lamulate and Bernol couldn't do well because of the lockdown, but the COVID range has contributed very well, and company has been able to find a good foothold in the market in spite of the crisis which we all are going through. Net, the after impact is that the net profit of the company has grown up by 153%, and as compared to 7.66 crore last first quarter, so we are at 19.37 crores, and company is very happy with the growth of this. And looking at the overall market demand of the products and our capacity utilization, so the board has approved an expansion plan for the API to the extent of 178 crores. So we'll shortly come to this when we discuss individual slides. That's an overall highlight: increase in revenue, increase in profit, good increase in API, good increase in diagnostic, and of course expansion plan. Going specifically to the segment-wide growth, we discussed that API has grown 44%, diagnostic 16%, OTC 53%. There's only one segment which has not performed up to the mark is the formulation sector, the finished dosages, where our people go to the doctor, generate prescriptions, and people buy medicines. There have been some shrinkage there, so we have lost 31% market there because people were not able to approach to the doctors were not sitting because of the complete lockdown. Hospitals were also not allowed to attend to the OPD patients. So we hope that this market should come back, maybe current quarter to some extent, but it may take another 2-3 quarters for finished dosage business. But whatever business we lost in finished dosage, we have gained in OTC, and we have gained much better in diagnostics and in API. So coming specifically to the API business, within API business, 43% of the business has grown, particularly in the hardcore APIs, which are our drugs like loratadine, montelukast, atorvastatin, rosuvastatin. There's a 43% growth, primarily coming from exports. Then some intermediates which we supply to our customers in Europe also and in China also. There's a 91% growth there. So it's a huge growth in the intermediate business. And new molecules where we have small quantities to sell, so we have grown by 21%. So API is still taking the lead, and it constitutes 64% of the consolidated revenue. But on standalone basis, API sale is like 68%, and it has grown by 44% quarter on quarter, which is a very good thing, and which is giving, I would say, a lifeline to the company for the future also. And as you would appreciate, the government is encouraging more and more manufacturing of APIs in India. Government wants to restrict import of APIs out of China and other countries. So we are rightly placed for this growth, and we feel that API growth is the next driver of the company in the coming time. Before we go to the export of API, go to the expansion plan, so I would like to touch base at which countries have been giving good growth to the company. So as per the statistics available, 57% of the top line of export is still coming from Asian market, which of course include big China and Japan market is very good, and then we have Bangladesh, Pakistan, Vietnam, Philippines, Korea, Thailand, all the countries we are supplying. So we are supplying to over 100 countries, 80 countries currently now. And Europe had been doing pretty well. Our Europe market has grown by 127%, while Asia Pacific has grown by 45%. US couldn't do very well in this last quarter, and US was rather down 20%. So other than US, Europe, Asia, other markets which are semi-regulated markets like South American markets, Eastern European markets, so they have grown by 38%. So overall demand of the API has come from all sides. We have grown in quantity, we have grown in value, and thankfully there has been an upside in the dollar value also. So looking at all the positive pointers, management presented to the board an expansion plan for the API, and thank you to the government of India also for giving a special scheme that we can address our new demands by under a special single window clearance system. So we applied somewhere in the month of May, and we got the permission in 24th of July under the single window clearance. So the project of 178 crore has been cleared, and out of the 178 crore, around 48 crores is going for building. Then there is another 85 crore for the machinery, and then installation, electrical services. There's a lot happening there. So we feel that it will take around 3 years to complete the capacity expansion, what is already envisaged. All of the projects may not take 3 years, but in a phased manner, we may start something in the second year, something in the third year. Total, we are adding 2 tons of capacities. Again, 3 tons of capacity is already available. We are adding many reactors. Almost 400 kiloliters of reactors will be added, and we will be manufacturing 40 products there. So we all know that there's a lot of shortage of jobs now, so we'll be adding 700 people and new jobs. We'll be creating 700 new jobs in the coming 3 years, only for this expansion, other than the routine projects which are already going. So as per the present plan approved by the board, the expansion is supposed to be funded through the internal cash accruals, and we are hopeful that with the going flow of the operations, we will be comfortably able, because we don't have to invest all the money together. But at certain stage, if we feel that we need to take some bank borrowing, we are free to do that. We are open to do that. Company is a debt-free company now, and in case we need to leverage a little bit, we may do at local level. But going forward, it is very clear that the company needs to focus on API, and the capacities would increase, volumes would increase, sales would increase, and as Mr. Modi, our President, Honorable Prime Minister wants, so we want to become self-reliant in APIs, and more products would be manufactured in manufactured in India. The second big plan for API, which is still under the discussions, is that Government of India has proposed to open 3-4 API parks, wherein they will have special facilities, special research facilities, and special treatment plants and other stuff. So we have already applied for a site in the API park, which may be set up in Himachal, Haryana, or maybe Punjab, but we are candidate there. Most likely it is coming down next to our site only, in Himachal only. And once we get a site there, so we will go for some intermediate plants, wherein we can reduce our dependence on China, and we can have more and more production in India, and maybe we can manufacture all the intermediates what we buy, and maybe manufacture some more intermediates which some other companies are buying from China. So that's, I would say, phase 2. Maybe we can add some intermediate plant here also, and we have enough. We have 60 acres of land here at Baddi. But as we go forward, we will take a call. But overall position is that it's a very positive phase of API business now. That government is also encouraging, market is also encouraging. People are looking for us. There's there's no dearth of queries. People are throwing orders left, right, and center. Everybody wants business out of India. Everybody wants to work with Indian companies. So we are very well placed, and I'd like to congratulate all of you for your support here, because now is the time that we should try to tighten our belts and see where do we go from here. Coming to our second line of business, which is devices. We discussed last time also that in the devices business, we have been doing very well in the glucometers, and glucometers, we are the leaders in glucometers in the country. We have sold around 40 lakh meters, we have installed base, and we have sold 450 million strips in the country, and we have a large leadership here. 55% of our sale comes from glucometers, and BP monitors contribute only 16%. But this quarter, surprisingly, BP monitors have done very well, and they have grown by 57%, other than the oximeters and the thermometers. Thermometers, since digital thermometers, is non-contact thermometers were launched for the first time, and thermometer sale has gone up by almost 20 times. But we think that this may be temporary, but some demand is going to continue. With all the diagnostic devices in hand and the COVID challenge still in our head, So COVID is entering our homes. Everybody wants to keep oximeter at home. Everybody wants to keep a non-contact thermometer. And now the next step is that we have launched a new device called oxygen concentrator. Oxygen concentrator, you can keep it at home to whenever anybody has oxygen problem or breathing problem or breathlessness, oxygen level, SpO2 level is going down. So oxygen concentrator is just plug and play, and it starts giving oxygen. You can directly start breathing oxygen. No extra equipment is required. No cylinder is required. It just takes oxygen from the air and supplies concentrated oxygen to you between 93 to 95%. So that's a new product. By launching a oxygen concentrator, indirectly we are entering into a respiratory line. So this is good for home use, but tomorrow it can go to the hospital also. It's a 8 kg model, but a 10 kg model is used for the hospital. So diagnostic devices has got a very good future for us, and going forward, so we are banking heavily on the capacity expansion for domestic market, even for export market, and at some stage diagnostic market we may go for backward integration. And here again we have all the same issues where we are discussing about API that we should make in India and be self-dependent. So in diagnostics also there is a lot of dependence on import. So at some stage we are trying to reduce our dependence on import and trying to do more and more things sitting in India. The last thing which has been very, I would say, consumer friendly and have been talk of the town, that our company had launched almost 23 products in the COVID time, in the hard times when people are not able to move out of their houses. So we have launched 23 products including hand sanitizers, hand rubs, hand wash, antibacterial spray, antibacterial soap, disinfectant solutions, face mask, gloves, vitamin C, gummies, vitamins, curcumin tablets. So there have been a lot of things happening here in the OTC segment. People have been very busy. We lost some sale on the lead brands, but and in the finished dosage also. But we sold a good COVID range, which is, I would say, out of the total revenue, so almost 80%, 70% is coming out of the COVID range. So we have been able to 61% is coming out of the COVID range. So we are not so confident that how long COVID will work, but we are sure that some of the products will maintain its continuity in the market. Now people are getting used to washing hands, people are getting used to taking vitamins, multivitamins. So now we have recently launched this month only, month of August only, we have launched a product called Beautiful Nutriful. It is for basically skin aging, anti-aging product. It's for beautiful skin. So skin firmness, hydration, glow, and of course it reduces the fine lines and pores. So this has been launched online. Now people are sitting home, they want to take care of their skin, and nothing hidden. Many people are doing the household work. Ladies have to go to the kitchen. Even men are also entering the kitchen. So everybody wants to take care of their skin. So this is a new solution we have launched. But it is not a part of the COVID, it's for betterment. So now concluding on the financial numbers, we already discussed that the top line had been good, EBITDA had been good, 42% increase in EBITDA, and cash profit 44%, net profit again 155%, profit after tax 153%, and the last thing is that the EPS of the company for the quarter has jumped from 17 paisa to 43 paisa per share, which is like a jump of another 153%. It's same as the net profit or profit after tax. So this is giving a good comfort to the overall thing that if top line has grown, profit has grown, earning per share has grown. So everybody in the system, everybody in the line is getting a positive feedback and positive reflection. And we are hopeful and comfortable that as we go forward, we should be able to sustain these numbers, because looking at the top line we are having in the current quarter and for another few quarters, we don't know how long this COVID sentiment would remain. But API business is certainly away from the COVID sentiment, and domestic businesses are certainly related. So we will continue focusing on the API and try to keep ourselves insulated from the market conditions. As we fully appreciate that the market, people are losing jobs and people are firing 50% manpower, 30% manpower. But I am happy to share with you that we have started fresh recruitments, both in our corporate office and even at the plant also. There was restrictions regarding the contract labor, and there were issues regarding people coming from outside, engineers moving in from the other states. But all said and done, we are increasing capacities, we are increasing the work is increasing, pressure increasing. We need more and more people, we need more helping hands, and we have started the hiring also. We have introduced a senior position even at the corporate office to handle HR. So the company is growing, and we are going from all angles. So the numbers are almost this, I think. So other than the numbers, 2-3 things which we updated last quarter, and I can touch base again. That one, of course, is the expansion plan what we shared. Second is that there was a NCLT order on account of fixed deposit holders. So we were supposed to finish everything within 3 months, but some people were not able to respond quickly, followed by this COVID scenario. So we were advised that instead of closing the scheme on 31st March, so we should extend it by another 3-4 months. So now we had given 31st August, till yesterday was the last day till any FD holder could write to us and claim money on behalf in place of their FD as per the NCLT order. So we have received a good number of representations, and as per the schedule given by NCLT, those all payments will be cleared by the company, and that issue will be behind us. So there is no pending issue on that. There is some preference capital of the banks which is still lying in our books, and as you would see our balance sheet, many a time it is misleading. We always say that we are a debt-free company, but there is a preference capital which is technically not a debt, but as per Indian accounting standard, it is classified as a debt. So many people have a question that what is this debt? So it's a preference capital owned by the banks. So technically it is not a debt, but still it is lying as a liability in the books. So many banks have approached us to convert that into equity. Around 60% of the banks we got sanctioned, but last few months there is not much movement because of this COVID thing and lockdown thing. There have been no personal meetings. So within next 3 to 6 months time, I would say by end of the year we'll be able to take a call that whether do we convert into equity, or if the company has got sufficient cash flows, so we may pay them back. So this thing is still, I would say, on our top of the agenda. And the last thing is that last year around the same time, there were some restrictions put by SEBI whether the company can raise fresh capital or can approach market. So those restrictions are also getting over, I think, before the end of this month, around 24th, 25th of this month. So I would say outer side within this month, all the restrictions will be over. Company will be able to approach the market, and if at all we need to do that, and whatever the pending issues are, all the 3 issues will be behind us. And as we go forward, I would again request everybody, please stay safe and don't try to jump the lines. COVID is going to stay here. We have to have strict precautions. And over to Mr. Shah, and in case there are any questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask questions may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking questions. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. To ask questions, please press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Saurabh G from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to ask the question. And congratulations for the good sets of numbers, Mr. Suri. The first question is just what kind of a CAGR you can maintain in the upcoming for FY21 and 22? Hello?
Yeah. Saurabh, we have already been... Yes, Saurabh, can you hear?
Yes.
Last 5 years, we had a CAGR of 15%. So we are
Yes.
comfortable that 15% is the bare minimum we will continue, since it will add up the previous years also. But if we take on isolated basis and take the current few years growth, so I would say we may be between 20 to 25% on a year-to-year basis, but CAGR 15% is what we are expecting.
Okay. That's absolutely fine. Number two question is that last year you had got the 3 approval for sitagliptin and other 2. So what was the revenue from that? Can you throw the highlights?
Sitagliptin is still under patent, and 2 approvals were vildagliptin and
Yes.
so those
So what
products,
was the revenue from that?
we have launched those products, but those were in early December. So I think this was the season for that, for after lockdown. So we haven't been able to approach the market directly on those. But those are already, we have launched the API, but maybe if after this lockdown we may launch the finished dosage also.
Okay.
So there's,
Can you give me? Yes, go on.
yeah, so this sitagliptin, of course, is still under patent, and another cardiac drug was rivaroxaban. So there the patent has been extended by 1 year. So we have to only have vildagliptin as sales only.
Okay. So how many ANDA are pending from your side?
We are a pure API company, and we do not have ANDAs. We have, even though DMF, we have 60 DMFs in the US market, US and Europe market.
So when it will get the approval? This?
DMFs do not need any approval. Looking at our DMF, if customer approaches us and we supply them the finished dosage, and we supply them the API, and all our supplies to US and Europe market are based on our DMF. And our US FDA is triggered once the customer customer approaches us for the supplies from our site. So it's basically mostly for plant approval. So all our facilities are approved now. Our both Masool Khana, Baddi facilities are approved, and all our products are also approved. So, and whenever we have any new product for which our DMF is triggered, maybe we have a fresh inspection. But as of today, there is nothing pending pending with authorities for our level.
Okay. Thank you. The last question is regarding about your Montrecolast and this Actovitogen. What was the revenue from in this quarter from these 2 drugs?
Usually we do not disclose the revenue number, but I can share with you the growth rate, and you would appreciate that from a market perspective, I would say Montelukast is around 150 crores, and atorvastatin is around 90 crores.
Okay. Thank you. I will come later. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dinesh Kumar from iWealth Advisors. Please go ahead.
Hi, good evening, sir. I have a couple of questions on that.
Go ahead.
One, on the API side, we are supplying allergy and asthma and cholesterol control related APIs, right? So what are those segment growth actually? Because when you say that we are growing faster than market, how that is happening? When you say 15%, 20%,
yes.
yeah.
Very valid question. That in the segment what we are growing is at a API level. Formulation, for example, might have grown at say 25%. If I have grown by 50%, it means that we got a better market share than someone else in the API market. So we are I would say, raw material supplier for the industry. So, for example, if I am buying from if a customer is buying from 2 sources, maybe he gives 80% supplies to me and 20% supply to someone else. And someday we may get 50-50. So maybe we got a better share. And secondly, when we say we have grown, this growth is respective growth as compared to the last year. So it is in terms of higher pricing, higher value, and maybe better quality products, because there is always a specification. US market may have a better specification. We may be selling the same thing in US market at $800, and in Europe market maybe $600, and in Bangladesh market maybe $250. So it's all strategic thinking that how do we upsell our products and have more and more tighter specifications so that we can get better pricing.
Okay. So, okay, understood. So, in the APIs which we have, at least the larger APIs which you mentioned before. So, what is our typical market share in the that Loratadine monoglucose?
Yes.
तो उसमें अपना market share कितना है सर उसमें?
In all the products where we are, Loratadine, Montelukast, Atorvastatin. Loratadine, we are the largest player in the world after the innovator, which was Schering-Plough. So we are, I would say, when I say largest, that doesn't mean that we got 99% share. Whether we got 50% share, 60% share, the second one is very lower than us, and we are the leaders. Montelukast, again, we are the largest manufacturer in the world in terms of the quantity. We are the largest capacities in the world. At Atorvastatin, we are 4th or 5th in the game because there are many companies who are doing Atorvastatin. Rosuvastatin, again, we are 3rd or 4th. So whatever products we do, we take a lead and follow the lead and try to grow. Unless there are few companies in the country who say that, okay, we are manufacturing 100 APIs. So we don't manufacture 100 APIs. We have few APIs, but we are leaders in there.
Okay. So what is the advantage मतलब we are bringing to the table so that we get 50-60% market share is a significant amount, right? मतलब, I think we are doing significantly right. That's why clients are increasing their share as well.
Dinesh, what we get is when we get a market share. Second is we are able to lock in our customer. If we consistently supply them same material, for example, when our US FDA happened back in 98, in the year 2000, 20 years ago, so we had one customer, Novartis. So Novartis is still my customer in the last 22 years. So no, they have not changed the vendor. We have not changed everything. No doubt there is always a discussion on price and this and that. So it's just an example. So when we have a long-term relationship with the customer, they understand us better, we understand them better, and whatever development is coming on that product, whatever new regulations are coming, whatever improvements are coming, whatever research is happening, we all share everything with the customer. So it's not like selling a retail product at a online portal कि आज खरीद लो, आज ये रेट है, ये लेना है तो ले लो, नहीं तो कल कोई और चीज मिल जाएगी. So this is a very consistent business, long-term business.
Okay. So that's how whenever we launch a new molecule or a new API, how long will it take us for us to reach some substantial share? We think it can happen.
I would say that it takes almost 5 to 7 years for any product to become sizable. When you say sizable, means 25-30 crores. But product like Loratadine, Montelukast, which are 100-150 crores now, so these are like 10-15 years old products. So when we say any product touches like 100 crores, so then we say, oh yes, internally we call it a blockbuster because 100 crores is a benchmark. But Rosuvastatin is another in the making, which is around 50 crores. So we want all products to be in that category. And as we go forward every year, we are always trying to spot that, okay, what is the product of the year? And we try to focus on that product.
So incremental growth for us in the API business will be the new molecules which we launch, how that is penetrating more and we get valid share in the existing clients. That's the driver for us, or it is because most of the larger molecules we are already very big market leaders. Every client wants to have two sources, right? They don't want to say that 80% I'll take it from one guy only because if something happens in Mosin, the uska business ka it will get impacted.
Yes, it is. So the way it is happening and is that, like you said, that everybody feels that, okay, whatever products we have and we are saturated, but the fact remains that there is always some scope. We have naturally limited resources, limited team, and the idea is to expand the team, expand the market. So it's always, I'd say, more economical and profitable to increase the capacities of the existing products. And secondly is to do similar products. And third is the new molecules. New molecules always take some time to develop because of the patent position. So maybe, for example, sitagliptin is expiring in 2023 and there is some product expiring next year. Rivaroxaban is expiring next year. So every year we have some expiry or the other happening. So, but once that expiry of the product, of any product happens, then there is the exponential jump. So we may exactly get a base of say 50 crores or 100 crores in year 1 or year 2 itself. So market also expands. When the product goes generics, the market also expands. So I would say that there is no one formula which fits all. So every product has its own life cycle, and sometimes product like loratadine, they are surviving since last 20 years. But a similar product, desloratadine, that couldn't come even for 3 years. But now after 7-8 years, now desloratadine is coming forward. So paracetamol, which is I would say simple, cheapest product, everybody knows, Crocin. This is the largest selling drug, but it still sells. It's selling for the last 50 years. So I would say that every product has a different marketing strategy. So we are in the game, but replying specifically, where would the growth be coming from? I would say old molecules and the new molecules both taken together. And going forward, new markets are opening up. Japan is opening up, and we are all discussing China. There is tension at the border, but we are exporting to China. No doubt we have some import, but we are exporting to China. So China is a huge, big market. So if we are able to grab 1 or 2 molecules for China, so we are able to supply good volumes to them at good price.
Understood. So basically what you are saying is in the existing molecule itself, so as the geographical opens up, it opens up market for us, right?
That is. For example, sitting here, we don't understand Bangladesh and China, Bangladesh and Pakistan. In Pakistan, we got 800 customers. So it looks like chota sa Pakistan hai, kya hoga? But once we go in, we never know what sells. Sometimes something clicks in one market, it doesn't click in another market.
True. So then what is our capacity, abhi running capacity, what is the capacity and what is the capacity utilization we are running?
Dinesh, capacity in pharmaceutical is very overlapping. So same reactors can be used for different products. But presently we are able to, I would say we have fully optimized. We run around 70 to 80% capacities on the existing reactors what we have got. We keep on adding more reactors and maybe some balancing equipment. But I would say that we have already exhausted everything, but we are still doing routine capex 15 to 20 crores every year to maintain those capacities. But the new plan what we have is to add a new production blocks. When we add new production blocks, then we have reactors, then we have utilities and pipelines and services and all the engineering, generators, everything is added fresh so that we can double up or triple up our capacity. So as in today, we have 70 to 80% utilization.
So we can go to 100% also possible?
We can.
Can we go to 100% also? Is it possible?
Yeah, look, that's what I'm saying. It's an overlapping thing. So technically, whatever is happening 100% only. But for example, we are taking, say, a batch of atorvastatin, which runs for 7 days. So it is 100%. But for 2 days, then there is a cleaning. Then maybe some other product starts. Maybe we have some pressing orders of hexafenadine. So at that stage, there is a cleaning time, there is a break time, maybe there is a shortage of raw material, maybe there is some technical problem, maybe QC guy has not approved the product. So sometimes it takes time. So technically, there is a continuous process and continuous batch after batch. So it's 24-hour cycle. So company is always running at 100%. But effective capacity comes lower because of certain, I would say, breakdown, maybe you can call it, or I would say sometime engineering guy want a stopover. So 70 to 80 is very safe to assume.
Then, when we are optimally running now, basically, then for the next 2 years, how the growth will come 15-20% what we are guiding? Because if we don't have capacity.
That we are adding, which we are calling a routine capex. Under the routine capex, we are upgrading the reactors. For example, if you have a reactor with a smaller capacity, a 3 KL reactor that is being upgraded to 5 KL or 8 KL. Maybe the team feels that we need a glass-lined reactor at certain place, and that instead of a 5 KL reactor, we put a 8 KL reactor. Maybe the capacity of the centrifuge is smaller. At some time we feel that okay, we are losing a lot of solvents and we need a bigger recovery plant. So those are the things which we keep on doing in routine. So
that will suffice us for 15-20% growth scale.
Yeah, 15 to 20% CAGR is coming from that. And whatever bottlenecks come, we keep solving the bottlenecks. So and whatever we make any budgets or projections, naturally the engineering guys have to stamp it, they have to agree, they have to rather say how much can they produce. And the target to the marketing team is whatever we produce, that has to be sold. It's not the otherwise.
So sir, in a presentation for the new capacities, Priya gave some number that from a current level it will become this much units, matlab, on a metric ton wise. System.
I don't have the data with me, but
So
presently
this expansion would add 2,000 metric ton manufacturing capacity in addition to 3,000 metric ton capacity which we already have. So but that means our capacity is 3,000 metric ton.
as on today it is 3,000 ton, but out of 3,000 ton, we have to see which product is how much capacity. For example, there is one product, maybe this say $100 price, and we may have a capacity of 12 tons or 1,200 tons. So I may not be producing that product because that's not high yielding. So we want to produce products which are say $1,000 products. So we try to use the same capacity for other products.
Understood. So this capacity expansion will be.
Paracetamol. For example, paracetamol is only a single step process. So, but it's only $5 item. So we don't want to waste our time and energy in making paracetamol. So even though I may have a capacity, but I can use the same capacity of because of the same reactors or same other solvents and whatever thing to produce something which is more useful and more in demand. So we usually have multi-stage synthesis like 5-stage, 8-stage, 24-stage, 11-stage.
Okay.
So the more complex the reactions, better the value additions.
So this capacity addition which we are saying 180 crores run rate. So which will be over the next 2 years we will do on a what is it? The investment will happen every quarter like that. That will happen like that.
Once we have got
investment will happen.
Once we have got statutory approvals, we'll start the construction. So construction is going to take at least year and a half in making the building blocks, and side by side the machinery ordering will be started. And we hope that within 2 years everything will be fully functional. But from a capacity point of view, putting the whole capacities in function, maybe we have kept 3 years as a safe number, that in 3 years all the capacities will be functional.
So what will be the ATR typically?
What is the?
ATR, matlab average asset turnover can be there. Matlab 180 crores can be generate how much in the peak?
It basically, that's how this depends on the KL capacity, that how much KLs of reactors we are adding. So these 180 crore is adding the 400 kiloliters of reaction, 400 KL capacity. So 400 KL capacity is yielding to 2 tons. So it's 1 KL adds to 5 tons of the finished product, of the finished API. So if it's an intermediate, it may be little more. If it is multi-stage synthesis, it may be little less.
Okay. So there is no one-off in our Q1 number. Any overlap from a Q4 number came to Q1?
I would say there is. In March quarter, we had lost some sale, which is certainly added up here. But
how much it is?
Maybe 5 to 7 crores. Last.
Okay, not substantial number. Okay.
Not substantial. And because many things spilled over here and there, and few people were. I mean, there were too many things happening in March and April, so let's not discuss. We are through with that now.
Understood. Sir, then my last question. So,
yes,
since we have last 4 or 5 years, we have done a phenomenal job in terms of sales. You know, FY16, our sales was 450 crores. Now we are running at run rate of 850 crores last year, FY20. So, but we have doubled our sales, but EBITDA, it is absolute number, it is more or less remained at the 60 crores run rate only. What are we missing in this? Because instead of operating leverage, we are getting an operating leverage when the sales is going up. How to read that?
We are saying that the top line has increased, but EBITDA has?
Absolute EBITDA is same.
Absolutely.
For last 5 years.
So maybe I think it is a product mix at some stage. Maybe when we add new products, we may have to sell cheaper. But as we stand now, I don't know specifically, but last few months or few quarters, so it is on the increasing side, but we can specifically study that. Because we have been adding new products and certainly to enter the new market.
So that's why we are sacrificing a little bit in the margin side to enter into the client. That is.
And sometimes we have to do, for example, in diagnostics, if we launch glucometers, so if we want our 100% market share and we want to be a market leader, so practically I won't say that we have to give it a discount. Sometimes we have to install the meter for free. But once we install the meter, then you get the supply of strips. It's like that printer and cartridge model.
Correct.
sell the meter, and then you supply. Similarly, even in our OTC market, now even during say COVID time, we launched so many products. So the whole purpose was not to get profit here. The whole purpose is to reach the market, be available in the market, and then in the new molecules, if we have been able to get a good traction, so it is now resulting, and we are confident that coming forward and even during the running quarters, the EBITDA numbers are seemingly very positive.
Okay. Because absolute, when you say that product mix has changed, but on a segmental wise number which we give, it more or less remained API at 60 to 55% only.
But now at least got market share now, we got the customers now, so you would be able to see it now.
But B2B business, is it possible to increase margin once you, is it possible to, because they know in and out of our everything.
Demand and supply, it's all demand and supply. For example, during COVID time, it was shortage, our raw material supplies charged 3-4 times, 30 to 40% increase in prices. Freight was almost 4 times, 5 times. So it's not a question of B2B and B2C, it's a question of demand and supply. So we are rightly placed now. In the absence of this China story, India story is in demand. We are in demand.
Understood. So API margins are higher to us, or it is non-API business is higher margin to us?
For us, API margins are higher because we operate in the regulated market. And we
so what you are saying is, we have last 4 years, we have utilized the API higher margin, and we generated the diagnostic business and the OTC, the diagnostic business from a 50-60 crores rate, we are doing 170 crores rate now. That's a phenomenal number.
Even though practically all businesses are separate, but in case we club everything together, so naturally one business or the other is supporting each other. But as a company, we have grown up, and now you would see in the coming few quarters that diagnostic is coming as a big force. So we have been able to develop a good, I would say, standby business out of zero, because we are the only company in the country who are focused on diagnostics.
Great, sir. Great, sir. Thanks for clarifying that.
Thank you, Dinesh. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vishal Upadhyay, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Suri, sir.
Yes, Vishal.
My question is that as being an equity shareholder, can I expect dividend from the upcoming AGM?
Sure, Vishal. As an equity shareholder, we are all expecting dividend, but I don't know when would the board take that call. But after the clearance of the bank preference shares, maybe this year, next year, so maybe I can't commit the numbers in date, but yes, we are all positive and hopeful. Once the company has got surplus cash flows, so certainly some dividend would be coming up, but no problem.
Okay, sir.
Thank you, Vishal.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ramesh Kasmekar, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Congratulations, Dr. Suri. It has been an extraordinary performance, I would say. I have basically three questions. One is, you spoke a lot on the capacity. On your expansion capacities, which you expect to launch in next 2 or 3 years, I wanted to know whether you will be at present. It appears that you have all multi-purpose kind of a facility with a maybe common utility block.
Yes.
Would you have you examined as to whether the capacities utilization can go up if you have a dedicated facility for your blockbusters? Because as you rightly said, there is a lot of change over time, when you have multi-purpose facilities, and almost about 20-25% of the capacity is lost in the changeover. So that is one question. And then, as a sequence to this, whether these will be implemented in stages. Like in case you have a dedicated facility, maybe that is possible. But in case you have a multi-purpose facility, maybe it is not possible. So could you please throw some light on this?
Ramesh, I would appreciate that we are asking a very intelligent question, and I understand that you have some good trade knowledge, and thank you for this. So I would say that certainly it's a no-brainer that dedicated facilities are always more economical and more efficient. But to be fair with the plant team, so we have to see that first of all the product has to be sizable. If we have a sizable product, like you said, the blockbuster drugs, so if it's a 100 crore, 150 crore product, so at that stage we certainly would like to give a dedicated facility. So we have 2-3 products in that category. So then second is that the capital requirements. So far in last almost 18 to 20 years, we have not done any major capex. So now since we have a capex plan, so while we certainly plan a multi-purpose plant, but within multi-purpose plant also, there's a dedicated service line, there's a dedicated reactors. And always when you say multi-purpose, doesn't mean everything is multi-purpose. If say 5 reactors are dedicated to one product, so they keep on doing the same product. Rather in case they have some problem somewhere, so they are given support of the other team. But certainly we'll evaluate this suggestion of yours, and in case we can have more and more facilities of a dedicated thing, dedicated to one particular product. So we may have to have smaller projects, smaller production blocks. Now we have huge production blocks which have 20-30 reactors. But sometime, for example, sultamicillin, we had antibiotic is always separate. So it was a dedicated facility. But it was not very economical because sultamicillin orders were not regular. So sometimes we try to, let's say, take out those odd things out, that everything should be multi-purpose so that we can adapt more and more products. But we leave this to the plant guys. So, but thank you for your suggestion. We will certainly review.
Yeah, so this is one, because you have some blockbusters, and they're all lifestyle products like Montelukast, Loratadine and all that. These products have survived for a long time and they'll continue to survive.
They will continue.
I mean, you might examine for these particular products because they must be already 100 crore plus. The second question is, you have done a remarkable job, and I'm really amazed the way you have, got into these medical devices and the pharmaceutical side of it. The suggestion which I am, you can call it a suggestion or you can call it maybe kind of an idea. Would it make sense to have the company have a subsidiary or a subdivided company with 2 companies with the same, exchange of shares and things like that? Of course, investment bankers will suggest you better. I'm a chartered accountant. But as a CFO, I would think that, would it make sense to have 2 units under the same Dr. Morpain brand, one API, another medical devices or pharmaceuticals, because the valuations will change. The valuations in case of APIs, which is having a presence in the regulated markets, could be higher. And of course, the medical devices and pharmaceutical side, including your OTC side, would command definitely a different valuation, which could be much higher than what you are getting, kind of a combined valuation now. So it's only a kind of idea which came to my mind when I saw your performance. You have been very quick in putting new products there, and maybe they need some, a gestation time. By the time they actually fructify and reach a sizable limit. But if you think of it from now, in order to have a better focus, better capital management, whether would it make a sense to have, you must be having, as on date, you have 2 separate businesses in the same one business of Morpain. What I am saying is, if you have 2 companies which will be valued by the market separately based on their performances and based on what is the historical valuation the market gives to pharmaceuticals and API, maybe it will enhance the shareholders' value. I leave it to you, of course. I mean, this is something which you need maybe a deeper study.
Thank you, Ramesh. It was certainly a wonderful idea. And on the lighter side, I would say your idea is approved. Wonderful, done. We will implement it.
Yeah,
I think this has been on the cards for last few years that we should spin off our diagnostic devices business into
yes,
separate
it's a great business. And though the margins might be thin, it is a consumable business, and it could really take you places. That's what is my personal view. When I saw your efforts in this quarter, they are amazing. I mean, the way you have launched the COVID range and all that, maybe if you with a greater focus, it could grow vertically. That's what I feel.
No doubt. So we are evaluating these things, and not from a valuation perspective particularly, but from an operation perspective, that diagnostic has its own future, and devices is one thing which is missing in India. So we want to focus on it. We are finding a gap here in the market. So a lot of R&D is going. We have opened an R&D center for that also, but we are waiting for it to catch a critical mass.
Yeah,
And once it has a critical mass, then it can survive as an independent company.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said.
It will certainly come back.
Yeah, it will need some gestation.
And as a chartered accountant, you would understand we had certain limitations and restrictions from SEBI. So we are lying low and just preparing for the meal, I would say.
Okay.
Still getting steam.
Congratulations again. Yes.
Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you.
Yeah, all the best.
Pleasure.
Thank you. The next question is from Damodar Prasad Agarwal from Madhav Trade and Finance. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Suri.
Yes, Damodar bhai.
फर्स्ट क्लास एक्सीलेंट. आपको परफॉर्मेंस देख के सीना चौड़ा हो गया 56 इंच का.
परफॉर्मेंस आपका है.
थैंक यू. बट यू आर आवर मिस्टर मोदी. अच्छा मिस्टर सूरी,
मोदी बनते हैं.
Mr. Suri, last year, September, you have passed a resolution for 3.7 crore equity shares to be allotted at 20 rupees to the promoters.
Yes, please.
But due to SEBI regulations, it was deferred. So now, what are your plans, sir?
Since we had done last year and SEBI had stopped, so I would say my lips are still tight. So till
but this year, September, it will be quashed, no? This order will be exhausted.
We still have to wait for a few more days, and we will see that since the 20 rupees price is no more available now, but we will check with that what are the overall factors. At that time, we were thinking that we will bring in equity in the company and we will pay the bankers. So we will check with the bankers what is the plan. So, but I would say that as in today, till the time there is restrictions from the SEBI, so we will like to keep quiet on this topic. We'll have to wait for another 3-4 weeks.
Okay. But we are very much optimistic, sir. Thank you.
Look, company is doing good, everything is good, so we are all positive, Damodar bhai.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. God bless you.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of C. Srihari from PCS Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. My questions are mainly on the API front. Basically, if you could please share what is the EBITDA margin for this division. And secondly, as far as the capex is concerned, what is the kind of asset turn you would expect, and will the EBITDA margin of that capex be substantially more than the existing one? Thank you.
The question is, one is EBITDA margins of the API business?
That's right.
I'll take out separately. So, we do not share the division-wise EBITDA margin, but in general, I will give you the range. So we
right.
don't give segment-wise. So API EBITDA is between 19 to 20%.
Okay.
And of course, it is expected to go higher as we spend more and more on the new molecules. So, but in general, API had been giving us a good results. So this is as against a typical, I would say, belief that many people believe that API is a low-end business and finished dosage is a high-end business. But since we do high-end APIs, So we can get same EBITDA in the APIs also. Maybe now in the current year, maybe it is a little more higher than that also. When we add more capex, so this margins will multiply because the turnover will multiply and fixed expenses are not very high. So we are pretty comfortable and hopeful that maybe this EBITDA may go up to 25.
And personally, I was thinking the 3 years kind of a timeline that you are giving seems to be a bit conservative. I mean, are you implementing it in phases or there are chances of the project getting commissioned even earlier than that?
I think on ground it may take some time, but we are only concerned about our regulatory challenges and friends. As on today, government is technically encouraging that we should do it fast, and single window clearance has come up within 2 months, but we don't know when do we get environment clearance, even though they say it's a state matter now. Earlier it was required from center. But we should always keep some margins looking at the approval system, and pharma is one line where we have a lot of regulatory requirements. But had it been only an intermediate plant and no approvals required, we could have started within 1 year. So who knows when we start putting up the things on ground. Depending on demand and supply, we may start early, but from a projection perspective, we are keeping it under the cuff. We are keeping some cushion.
So what is
routine capex? In routine capex, we start everything within 1 month, within 2 months. We don't sometimes take a shutdown more than two hours. So, but because it's a running thing. But when it's a new plant, so certainly it's better to have a more planned thing.
But what is the implementation period you expect? I mean, let's say once you get the clearances, how long will it take for you to commission the project?
The plant guys have given is 1 year is for the construction and ordering of the machinery, and 1.5 years all installation completed, and we'll be doing all the trials and everything in the second half of the second year. So technically we are up and running. So when we say 3 years means the whole plant will be running in 3 years.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Srihari.
Thank you. The next question is from Chirag Patel, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hello. Congratulations for the good set of numbers. I have 3 questions. The first one is, as earlier participant asked regarding that our turnover is increasing in last 3 years, 3 financial year, but EBITDA margins are not increasing. But if you look at the proportion of API contribution, it increased from 60 to 65 in some years. So as earlier you mentioned that in API we are getting a good margin by selecting a good API and all products within bucket. So just I want to understand where is the efficiency lacking, or is there any area where we can do debottlenecking to increase margin further?
Certainly that's a very challenging and self-introspection we have been doing. But as we shared that API certainly in general is good profiteering and making good margins, but certainly we are investing on capex, we are investing on some other divisions, and within API also we are trying to capture new markets, we are spending on the new markets, and of course there is some say business development expenses which are important which we do. We are spending on R&D. So we don't have to see any business on a I would say short-term or micro basis or on a quarterly basis. So once we are investing in R&D and R&D has got a pipeline of 20-30 drugs, so maybe we are not seeing that profit. But if today I say, oh, by the way, I got 180 crore expansion, so because I got a product pipeline, and tomorrow somebody comes from Russia market or comes from US market and they want particular specs, we can give that because we have invested in QC, we have invested in R&D. And as a conservative company, we do not try to capitalize the expenses and show higher profit. We always try to expense out. And it is better to have, because we don't have any tax shelter. So it's better that whatever we have, we should expense out. And maybe because there is some fluctuation there. But if you observe last few quarters, so the profit and EBITDA of API also have been increasing, altogether have been increasing. Now diagnostic is standing on its feet. Finished dosages now, for example, this last quarter, There was nothing much happening of finished dosage. So there were no marketing expense, there were no travel, there was nothing. So the profit is showing up.
Okay. And my second question is on home diagnostic devices. Whatever the product we have in our portfolio, what we offering, like glucometer, BP meter, and any others, how many of them being manufactured by us, and how many are just traded product?
We have the capacity and skills to manufacture all the things, including BP monitors, glucometers, and stethoscopes, nebulizers, oximeters, even the non-contact thermometers. But it all depends upon our present capacities, availability of raw materials, availability of manpower. So, but just to give you an idea, glucometer is 100% manufactured. Not now,
Okay.
since last 3 years. Glucometers, glucometer strips. BP monitors we have started manufacturing, but till December it was imported. But now in the COVID time, some import, some manufacturing, because there are restrictions on the manufacturing also. Nebulizers we some manufacture in-house, some we manufacture from a local source, and we do the complete part. And then we have stethoscopes, which we assemble in-house, but some parts are manufactured from Delhi and Noida. And then we have oximeters, which is 100% in-house, with some import of parts from China. So basically, it's product to product, case to case, time to time, because we don't have huge capacities available suddenly at hand. So last year we expanded the capacities of diagnostic, and there's a big regulations of coming for new medical devices rules, according to which we have to have a certain type of audit and certain classification of the products in a certain way. So we can produce only the things where we are compliant with the government norms. So, but we are the only company who is making this effort to manufacture in India. And
Okay. There is one company, Polymedicare. They are in surgical instruments. So, do we have any plan to foray into that, apart from home diagnostic device?
Chirag, we have been doing all those things in the past, and we were doing some hospital business with, of course, high-end business for blood banking and immunology and of those devices for checking your hemoglobin. But we could see that we are not trained to handle hospital business, and there's a lot of red tapeism, and there's a lot of, I would say, underhand dealing which we have to do in hospital business, which we are not good at. So we have smartly and silently left that business, and we are focusing more on the consumer. Because Dr. Morphin as a brand, a B2C brand, but guys, they give a damn to the brand. They want their own lowest tender, and they say we are not into tender business at all. During this COVID time, we had a lot of opportunities to launch these COVID vaccines and other drugs, but we could see that norms and so much tendering and so much kickbacks going, so we decided not to enter into it.
Okay. And as earlier participants suggested that to separate this diagnostic device business, so and you also welcome that step. So by how much, any timeline internally you identify, as you said, since last year you discussing on this particular corporate action?
Yes, this is, I would say, an event which is on the cards, but it really depends what critical mass do we have and what are the opportunities for that business to grow. But now, because of this COVID, everything, I would say, everybody is wearing different caps now. Do I survive today? Do I survive tomorrow? What will happen? For example, this oximeter, which was never in our agenda. Oximeter and this oxygen concentrator, non-contact thermometer, these are needs of today. So
yes.
we are naturally refiguring ourselves according to the new normal. But certainly devices is going to be a separate division someday, and I would like to keep quiet there. At what stage, well, I don't know. Since it's sensitive information, like to keep quiet.
Okay, and any debt or capital raising plan going forward?
Chirag, as of today, thankfully we have enough cash accruals, but as we go forward and if we could find better opportunities for any capex, and in case we need to raise small debt, we can always raise that. We have a free balance sheet, and really depends on the market conditions. we took 20 years to get debt free, so we are in a way actually very happy to be debt free, and we don't want to become a debt company again. But nevertheless, it's very efficient to take a low cost debt, but we'll see at appropriate time.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chitta. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one last question in queue. We take the last question from the line of Ramesh Kasmekar, who's an individual investor. Please go ahead.
Suri Sahab, I forgot to mention one more thing. In India, there are a lot of bulk capacities available, where they do give you the drug intermediates. Let's say you have Montelukast, you have 4 stages or you have 3 stages. So you can get some of them manufactured on a principal to principal basis or even on loan license basis. Have you examined this option? Maybe it requires a separate supervisory and QC model in your quality control department. But as I understand, sometimes it is worse, where you find that your costs are much lesser than the cost in a regulated kind of manufacturing capacity. So if you must have probably examined this, but if not, there are a number of such units available, who are willing to do business on these.
Yes, Ramesh, we are always happy to look at these opportunities, and you rightly pointed out that it's a very dedicated effort and we need a separate team who can look at the quality.
Yeah.
As per the latest FDA norms and customer practices and audit practices, all the vendors have to be approved.
Yes.
So if the vendor is of a KSM, a key starting material, or any key intermediate, that vendor has to agree for an audit. So the facility should be auditable. So most of our small friends here and there in our neighborhood, around our Himachal, Chandigarh area, and lot of factories in Hyderabad. So they technically are ready to supply material at say X price. They will give you 10% discount, but they do not agree or admit for an audit. So that is sometimes a restriction. So maybe at some stage, as a company, we may say, okay, we will upgrade your facilities and invest on that. But honestly, we haven't spent much time and resources on that. But yes, it's a good suggestion that in case we can, basically it is expanding your own capacities. But like you said, sometimes it is cheaper to get material from these unorganized sector. But I'm sorry to say that unfortunately we cannot acquire from these unorganized sector. We want approved sources only. So if we want approved sources, that has to come to our standard, whether he does it or we do it.
Yes. Yes, I agree. You have to have a dedicated kind of a team, procurement and QC.
And who has some budget also, that in case they need to improve something there, add some systems, add some filters, or add some whatever thing.
Yes.
We should be able to do that.
Yeah, these are long-term kind of things.
Yeah, maybe in the coming time when we are expanding capacities, so in our neighborhood areas, we certainly do that. And during this lockdown, there have been many unfortunate incidences, and many people are approaching us for some sort of collaboration. So certainly we are evaluating on individual basis, but I appreciate your open suggestion, and certainly we need more good suggestions like this.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Ramesh bhai. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. That was the last question in queue. I would now like to hand the conference back to Mr. Vasupal Shah for closing comments.
Thank you everyone for joining the conference call of Morphin Laboratories Limited. If you have any query, you can write us at vasupal@greenadvisors.com. And once more, thank you everyone for joining the conference.
Thank you, Mr. Shah. Thank you all the shareholders. Take care and take care of your families. Stay safe. Bye-bye.